Blockchain Unveiled, Demystifying the Digital Ledger Revolution. Chapter 1, The Dawn of Digital Trust. Why blockchain? Imagine a world where every piece of information, every transaction, and every agreement could be verified and trusted without the need for a central authority. No bank verifying your payment, no government agency certifying your identity, no social media giant overseeing your data. Sounds utopian, or perhaps a little chaotic. For centuries, society has relied on powerful intermediaries, banks, governments, corporations, to establish trust and maintain records. They are the gatekeepers, the arbiters of truth, the central points of control. We trust our banks to hold our money, our governments to record our property, and tech companies to manage our digital identities. But what happens when that trust falters? We've seen it happen. Financial crises erode faith in banking institutions. Data breaches expose sensitive personal information held by massive corporations. Disinformation campaigns sow doubt in the narratives presented by traditional media. In our increasingly digital world, the question of who or what we can truly trust has become more urgent than ever. Every email sent, every online purchase made, every photograph shared exists as a digital record. But how do we know these records are accurate, haven't been tampered with, or are truly owned by the person claiming them? For a long time, the solution has been to centralize control. If we all agree to trust Bank A, then Bank A can verify our transactions. If we trust Government B, then Government B can issue and verify our passports. This model has served us well, establishing order and facilitating global commerce. However, it comes with inherent vulnerabilities, a single point of failure. If the central authority is compromised, becomes inefficient, or acts maliciously, the entire system can falter. These intermediaries also add costs, slow down processes, and often collect vast amounts of our data, leading to concerns about privacy and control. Enter blockchain. Born out of a deep-seated desire for a more transparent, resilient, and equitable digital infrastructure, blockchain offers a radical alternative to this traditional model of trust. It proposes a way to verify and secure information not through a single, powerful entity, but through a distributed network of participants. It's like moving from a single, heavily guarded vault to countless copies of a ledger, all constantly cross-referencing and validating each other, making it incredibly difficult for anyone to cheat or alter a record without detection. The idea first gained significant public attention in late 2008, against the backdrop of a global financial crisis that had shattered public confidence in traditional banking systems. An anonymous entity known as Satoshi Nakamoto published a white paper detailing a new digital currency called Bitcoin. Bitcoin was designed to be peer-to-peer electronic cash that could be sent directly from one party to another without going through a financial institution. The ingenious technology underpinning Bitcoin, the innovation that made this trustless exchange possible, was the blockchain. Initially, many people equated blockchain solely with Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies. And while cryptocurrencies remain its most famous application, they are merely one use case for a much broader, more fundamental technology. Think of it this way. The internet was initially used for academic communication, but it rapidly evolved to power everything from e-commerce to social media, redefining how we live, work, and interact. Similarly, blockchain is a foundational technology, an engine for a new kind of digital record-keeping, and its implications stretch far beyond digital money. At its core, blockchain is a distributed digital ledger. Imagine a financial ledger, like the one a business uses to record its transactions. Now imagine that instead of being held by one company, hundreds or thousands of copies of this ledger are held by different computers around the world. Every time a new transaction occurs, it's added to a block, which is then linked securely to the previous block, forming a chain of records. This chain is continually updated and validated by all the computers in the network. This distributed nature, combined with sophisticated cryptographic techniques, means that once a record is added to the blockchain, it becomes incredibly difficult to change or remove. It's immutable, transparent within the rules of the specific blockchain, and resistant to single points of failure. This book is an invitation to explore this groundbreaking technology. we will unravel the complexities of blockchain, moving past the headlines and hype to understand its fundamental mechanics. We'll demystify terms like mining, smart contracts, and decentralization, explaining them in clear, accessible language. We'll discover how blockchain is being applied in innovative ways across industries, from securing supply chains and managing digital identities to revolutionizing finance and even art, and explore the challenges and criticisms it faces. Finally, we'll look at the horizon, imagining a future where blockchain plays an increasingly vital role in building a new kind of digital trust. Get ready to unveil the revolution. Chapter 2: Beyond Cryptocurrencies. What is a digital ledger, really? In the previous chapter, we touched upon the idea of blockchain as a distributed digital ledger. It's an intriguing phrase, but to truly grasp its significance, we need to peel back the layers and understand what a digital ledger is in this context, and how blockchain's approach fundamentally differs from traditional record-keeping systems. Imagine, for a moment, a simple accounting ledger. It's a book where transactions are recorded: debits, credits, dates, descriptions. This ledger keeps track of who owns what, who owes whom, and when events occurred. For centuries, such ledgers have been the backbone of commerce, finance, and administration. They provide transparency to those with access, accountability, and a historical record. In the digital age, these ledgers moved from physical books to centralized databases. When you check your bank balance online or verify shipping information for a package, you are interacting with a digital ledger managed by a single entity, your bank or the shipping company. This centralized model is incredibly efficient for the organizations that control them. They can process vast amounts of data quickly, correct errors, and enforce rules. The problem, as we discussed, is that this efficiency comes at the cost of a single point of failure and the necessity of trusting that central authority implicitly. This reliance on an intermediary is what blockchain seeks to circumvent. A blockchain, at its heart, is also a digital ledger, but it's not centralized. Instead, it's distributed. Think of it not as a single book held securely in one vault, but as millions of identical books, each held by a different person around the world. Every time a new transaction is recorded in one of these books, that information is automatically and almost instantly copied to all the other books. Let's use a more concrete analogy. Imagine a small town where everyone agrees to keep a public transaction book. Instead of going to the bank to record a payment, Alice simply announces, "Alice sent 10 units of money to Bob." Everyone in the town hears this, writes it down in their own book, and verifies that Alice has enough money. Once everyone has written it down, that transaction is considered final. Now, if someone tries to secretly erase that transaction from their book or write down something false, everyone else's books will disagree, and the false entry will be rejected. That's the essence of a distributed ledger. No single person or entity controls the ledger. Its integrity is maintained by the collective. This collective, in a blockchain network, consists of what are called nodes. A node is essentially a computer running the blockchain software and storing a complete copy of the ledger. These nodes constantly communicate with each other, sharing new information and validating transactions. When we say a blockchain is distributed, it means that the data is not stored in one place, but rather across this global network of nodes. This distributed nature carries several profound implications. Decentralization. Because no single entity owns or controls the entire ledger, it is inherently decentralized. There's no central server that can be shut down, no single company that can monopolize access, and no lone administrator who can alter records unchallenged. This reduces censorship risk and single points of attack. Immutability. Once a transaction is recorded and verified on the distributed ledger, it becomes incredibly difficult to change or delete it. This is because countless copies of the ledger exist, and altering one would require altering all the others simultaneously and independently. An almost impossible feat. This makes blockchain ledgers exceptionally trustworthy for record keeping. The past cannot easily be rewritten. Transparency, pseudonymous. While the identities of the participants are often kept anonymous or pseudonymous, represented by a long string of characters called a public address, rather than your name, the transactions themselves are typically transparent and visible to anyone on the network. You can see every payment made, every asset transferred, and when it happened. This unprecedented level of open auditing is a core feature. Security. The combination of distribution, cryptography, which we'll explore in the next chapter, and an agreed-upon process for verifying transactions makes these digital ledgers highly secure against tampering and fraud. Now, why is this important beyond cryptocurrencies? Because any system that relies on record-keeping and trust can potentially benefit from a distributed digital ledger. Consider supply chains. Traditionally, tracking a product from its origin to the consumer involves multiple intermediaries: manufacturers, shippers, distributors, retailers, each keeping their own siloed records. If there's a problem, like a foodborne illness outbreak, tracing the source can be a slow, complex, and opaque process. With a blockchain-based ledger, every step of an item's journey, from farm to fork or factory to customer, could be recorded. Each participant along the chain updates the ledger, creating an immutable, transparent history. This allows for instant traceability, reduces fraud, e.g., counterfeit goods, and builds trust among participants and consumers. Or think about digital identity. Today, our identities are fragmented and controlled by various entities. Governments issue passports, social media companies manage our online profiles, and employers hold our work credentials. Blockchain offers the potential for self-sovereign identity, where individuals control their own digital data and can selectively share verified attributes, like age or qualifications, without revealing all their underlying personal information and without relying on a central authority to vouch for them. From managing healthcare records to intellectual property rights, from voting systems to real estate titles, any domain where verifiable, untamperable records are crucial is a potential candidate for blockchain. The common thread is the need for trust, not in a single entity, but in the integrity of the system itself. This fundamental shift from centralized trust to distributed trust is the true revolution of the digital ledger. In the next chapter, we'll dive deeper into how this trust is technically achieved, exploring the cryptographic building blocks that make blockchain so robust. Chapter 3: The Building Blocks. Blocks, chains, and hashes explained. In our journey to demystify blockchain, we've established that it's a distributed digital ledger. But how exactly does this ledger work to ensure its records are secure, transparent, and virtually tamper-proof? The magic lies in three fundamental components: blocks, hashes, and the way they are linked together to form a chain. Let's start with the block. Think of a block as a page in a very special digital ledger book. Each page is designed to hold a batch of information, primarily transactions. So, if Alice sends money to Bob, or a medical record is updated, or a parcel moves through a supply chain, these individual events are listed within a block. But a block contains more than just a list of transactions. It also contains a timestamp. This marks precisely when the block was created, ensuring a chronological record. The block's own unique identifier, its hash. This is like a digital fingerprint for the entire block. We'll dive into hashes in a moment. The unique identifier of the previous block. This is the crucial element that links blocks together, forming the chain. So, a block is essentially a container for recent, verified transactions, along with some critical metadata. Once a block is filled with transactions and finalized, it's ready to be added to the chain. Now, let's talk about hashes. A hash is arguably the most clever piece of the blockchain puzzle. Imagine you have a document. Any document, it could be a single word, a paragraph, or an entire book. A cryptographic hash function takes that entire document and processes it into a short, fixed-length string of seemingly random letters and numbers. This string is the document's unique, digital fingerprint, or hash. Here are the key properties of these hashes that make them so powerful for blockchain. Uniqueness. Even a tiny change in the original document, say, altering one letter in a sentence, will result in a completely different, unrecognizable hash. There's virtually no chance that two different documents will produce the exact same hash. One-way function, it's a one-way street. You can easily generate a hash from a document, but you cannot figure out the original document just by looking at the hash. It's like breaking a glass bottle, easy to break, impossible to put back together perfectly from the shards. Deterministic. The same input will always produce the exact same output. If you hash the phrase, "blockchain is awesome" today and hash it again tomorrow, you'll always get the same digital fingerprint. In the context of blockchain, every block has its own unique hash, which is generated from all the information contained within that block: the transactions, the timestamp, and importantly, the hash of the previous block. This brings us to the chain aspect. The chain is formed because each new block explicitly points to its predecessor using that predecessor's hash. Imagine a series of digital dominoes, where each domino has engraved on its surface the unique ID of the domino that came before it. Block 1 is created. It has its own hash, say ABCD. Block 2 is created. It contains its own transactions and hash, say EFGH. Crucially, Block 2 also contains the hash of Block 1, ABCD. Block 3 is created. It contains its own transactions and hash, say IJKL. It also contains the hash of Block 2, EFGH. This creates an unbroken, chronological link. The oldest block is sometimes called the Genesis block, the very first page in the ledger. Every subsequent block effectively seals the history of all the blocks that came before it. Now, consider the security implications of this structure. Let's say someone tries to tamper with a transaction in an old block, for example, Block 1, that happened hours, days, or even years ago. If they alter a single transaction in Block 1, even by one digit, the content of Block 1 changes. Because the content of Block 1 changes, its unique hash, ABCD, will instantly become something completely different, e.g., MNOP. But Block 2 was created containing the original hash of Block 1, ABCD. Now, Block 2's stored previous hash no longer matches the new hash of Block 1, MNOP. This breaks the link in the chain. To fix this break, the tamperer would then have to recalculate the hash of Block 2, and then the hash of Block 3, and so on, all the way to the very latest block in the chain. Not only would they have to recalculate all these hashes, but they would also have to do it faster than the rest of the decentralized network is adding new, legitimate blocks to the chain. This is computationally expensive, time-consuming, and virtually impossible on a large, active blockchain network. This is why blockchain transactions are considered immutable and why the ledger is so robust. The cryptographic links between blocks make any alteration obvious and easily detectable by the rest of the network. If someone tries to present a tampered version of the ledger, the chain breaks at the point of alteration, and the network simply rejects that invalid version in favor of the legitimate, unbroken chain that the majority of participants possess. In essence, blocks package information, hashes provide digital fingerprints and verify integrity, and the chain links them together in an unalterable sequence. This elegant combination forms the secure foundation of a distributed digital ledger, creating a system where trust is established not by an authority, but by the mathematical and cryptographic integrity of the structure itself. But while these building blocks are secure, how does everyone on the distributed network agree on which version of the chain is the valid one, especially when new blocks are constantly being added? That profound question leads us directly to the concept of consensus mechanisms, which we will explore in the next chapter. Chapter 4: Consensus and Security: How Blockchain Stays Honest. We've established that blockchain is a decentralized ledger, meaning copies exist on many computers, or nodes, around the world. But here's a fundamental challenge. If there's no central authority to say, this is the true record, how do all these independent nodes agree on which transactions are valid and which version of the ledger is the correct one? What if some nodes are malicious and try to cheat, or if new transactions arrive at different times for different nodes, leading to temporary disagreements? This is where consensus mechanisms come into play. A consensus mechanism is essentially the set of rules and algorithms that network participants follow to collectively agree on the true and legitimate state of the distributed ledger. It's the ingenious system that ensures integrity, prevents fraud, and maintains the honesty of the entire blockchain. Without it, the whole decentralized project would fall apart into a chaotic mess of conflicting records. There are several ways a decentralized network can achieve consensus, but the two most prominent are proof of work, POW, and proof of stake, POS. Proof of work, POW. The original trust engine. Proof of work is the granddaddy of all consensus mechanisms, first popularized by Bitcoin. It works by making it computationally difficult and thus expensive to add new blocks to the blockchain. This difficulty ensures that no single entity can easily dominate the network. Here's how it generally operates: the race to solve a puzzle. When new transactions are broadcast to the network, they are gathered into a potential new block. Nodes on the network, called miners in POW terminology, then compete to solve a complex mathematical puzzle. This puzzle isn't actually about complex math. It's about finding a specific number, called a nonce, that, when combined with the block's data and run through a hashing function, produces a hash that starts with a certain number of zeros. It's essentially a guessing game, but one that requires a lot of computational power. The winner gets to add the block. The first miner to find the correct nonce broadcasts their solution and the newly formed block to the rest of the network. Verification and reward. Other nodes quickly verify if the solution is correct, which is easy to do, even though finding it was hard. If it's valid, they accept the new block, add it to their copy of the blockchain, and begin racing to solve the puzzle for the next block. The successful miner is rewarded with newly minted cryptocurrency, like Bitcoin and transaction fees. This work, the computational effort, is what gives the system its security. It's purposefully designed to be resource-intensive, meaning that for anyone to successfully tamper with previous blocks, they would need to redo all the computational work for not just one block, but for every subsequent block in the chain, and do so faster than all the honest miners combined. This is known as a 51% attack, where a single entity or group controls more than half of the network's computing power. While theoretically possible, on large POW networks like Bitcoin, the sheer economic cost of acquiring and maintaining that much computing power makes it incredibly impractical and financially prohibitive for any malicious actor. It would be cheaper to just mine honestly. The primary critique of proof of work, particularly for large networks like Bitcoin, is its immense energy consumption. The continuous computational race consumes as much electricity as small countries, raising environmental concerns. Proof-of-stake POS, a more energy-efficient approach. To address the energy concerns and improve scalability, many newer blockchains, and even established ones like Ethereum, have shifted or are shifting towards proof-of-stake. POS replaces computational power with economic stake as the primary mechanism for security. Here's how it works: staking collateral. Instead of miners, POS networks have validators. To become a validator, an individual or entity must stake a certain amount of the network's native cryptocurrency as collateral. This staked amount acts as a financial bond, a commitment to act honestly. Validation and selection. Validators don't compete to solve mathematical puzzles. Instead, based on the amount of cryptocurrency they've staked, along with other factors like their history of honest behavior or a random selection process, one validator is chosen to propose and validate the next block of transactions. Attestation and reward. Once a block is proposed, other validators attest to its validity. If enough validators agree, the block is added to the chain, and the proposing validator, and sometimes the attesting validators, receives transaction fees and newly minted cryptocurrency as a reward. The security of POS comes from the economic disincentive to cheat. If a validator tries to propose a fraudulent block or acts maliciously, they risk having a portion or even all of their staked cryptocurrency slashed, effectively taken away by the network. This makes malicious behavior financially ruinous. A 51% attack in POS would require an attacker to acquire 51% of the total staked currency, which would be incredibly expensive and likely drive the price of the currency down, making the attack self-defeating. POS is significantly more energy efficient than POW and often allows for higher transaction throughput. However, some critics argue it could lead to centralization if a few large holders control a disproportionate amount of the staked currency, potentially weakening the decentralized ideal. The role of consensus in security. Regardless of the specific mechanism, the goal of consensus is to achieve agreement among distributed, untrusting parties. When a block is confirmed by the majority through the consensus mechanism, it effectively becomes part of the official record. Changing any transaction in that block, or any previous block, would require overriding the consensus of the entire network. A feat so monumentally difficult and expensive on robust blockchains that it's practically impossible. This built-in resistance to modification is what gives blockchain its unparalleled security and its reputation for being immutable. It's how the digital ledger stays honest, even in a world full of potential tricksters. These consensus mechanisms, along with the cryptographic hashing we discussed in Chapter 3, are the twin pillars upholding the security and trustworthiness of blockchain technology. They are the reason we can speak of digital trust without a central authority. In the next chapter, we'll see how this newfound trust enables groundbreaking applications, diving into the world of smart contracts. Chapter 5. Smart contracts, code that executes itself. We've explored how blockchain establishes a secure and immutable record of transactions, built upon cryptographically linked blocks and maintained by distributed consensus. This ability to create a trustworthy, shared ledger is a powerful innovation in itself. But what if this ledger could do more than just record transactions? What if it could also execute agreements automatically, without the need for lawyers, banks, or other intermediaries? This is the revolutionary concept behind smart contracts. The term smart contract was coined back in 1994 by Nick Szabo, a computer scientist and cryptographer. He defined it as a computerized transaction protocol that executes the terms of a contract. Szabo envisioned self-executing agreements embedded in computer code, automatically verifiable and enforceable by a network. While his vision predated blockchain technology, it found its perfect home there, because blockchain provides the secure, immutable, and decentralized environment necessary for smart contracts to operate reliably. Think of a traditional contract as a legal agreement, written in often complex language, that requires human interpretation and enforcement through a legal system. A smart contract, in contrast, is an agreement where the terms are written directly into lines of code. This code resides on a blockchain, where it is transparent, unchangeable once deployed, and automatically executes when predefined conditions are met. Imagine a vending machine. You put in the correct amount of money, condition 1, choose your desired item, condition 2, and the machine automatically dispenses the product, execution of agreement. If you don't put in enough money, or if the item is out of stock, the machine simply won't release the product. A vending machine is a simple, physical example of a smart contract, a pre-programmed agreement that executes automatically when certain conditions are satisfied. Now, extend that concept to complex agreements in the digital realm. Here's how a smart contract on a blockchain works: code and terms. The terms of the agreement are expressed as code and deployed to the blockchain. This code defines the rules, conditions, and actions. For example, if X happens, then Y will be executed. Immutability. Once deployed, the smart contract code cannot be altered. This ensures that the terms agreed upon initially will remain precisely as written, preventing any party from unilaterally changing the rules mid-game. Automatic execution. When the predefined conditions coded into the contract are met, which can be triggered by external data feeds called oracles or by internal blockchain events, the smart contract automatically executes the agreed-upon actions. There's no need for lawyers to interpret or courts to enforce. The code itself is the law and the executor. Decentralized verification. Because the smart contract resides on a decentralized blockchain, its execution is verified and confirmed by all the network participants, just like any other transaction. This means the execution is transparent and auditable. Illustrative examples of smart contracts: escrow services. Let's say Alice wants to buy a digital artwork from Bob. Instead of a traditional bank holding the funds in escrow, they could use a smart contract. Alice sends the payment to the smart contract. The contract holds the funds until Bob delivers the artwork to Alice and a predefined condition, e.g., Alice confirming receipt, is met. Once confirmed, the funds are automatically released to Bob. If Bob fails to deliver, the funds are automatically returned to Alice. No need for a human intermediary. Decentralized lending. A smart contract could facilitate a loan. Borrower puts up collateral, e.g., cryptocurrency, into the contract. Lender provides funds. If the borrower repays the loan, the collateral is returned automatically. If default occurs, the collateral is automatically liquidated or transferred to the lender's account. Voting systems. Smart contracts could manage secure, transparent voting. Each vote could be recorded as a transaction, and the contract could automatically tally the votes and declare a winner once the voting period ends, all verifiable by anyone. Insurance. A smart contract could automate crop insurance payments. If satellite data, an oracle providing external information, confirms that a specific region has experienced a certain amount of rainfall below a threshold, the condition, the smart contract automatically releases claim payments to the farmers in that region. Supply chain automation. Smart contracts can trigger payments to suppliers automatically upon verifiable receipt of goods, e.g., via IoT sensors confirming delivery, streamlining logistics and reducing payment delays. The power and the pitfalls. The power of smart contracts lies in their ability to automate processes, reduce costs by eliminating intermediaries, increase efficiency, and provide greater transparency and trust in agreements. They are often referred to as trustless, in the sense that you don't need to trust an intermediate party. You just need to trust the code and the blockchain it runs on. However, code is law also comes with profound implications and challenges. Bugs and errors. If there is a bug or vulnerability in the smart contract code, it can have devastating consequences. Once deployed, the code is immutable, meaning fixing a bug can be incredibly difficult, often requiring a complex upgrade or migration. The infamous DAO hack in 2016, where a vulnerability in a smart contract led to the loss of millions of dollars, is a stark reminder of this risk. Oracles, smart contracts often need to interact with real-world data, e.g., stock prices, weather conditions, sports scores. These external data feeds are provided by oracles. If an oracle provides incorrect or malicious data, the smart contract will execute based on bad information. Legal ambiguity. The legal enforceability of smart contracts in traditional legal systems is still an evolving area, prompting questions about jurisdiction, liability, and dispute resolution. Despite these challenges, smart contracts are a cornerstone of the blockchain revolution. They move the technology beyond just being a record-keeping system into a platform for building truly transformative, self-executing applications. They lay the groundwork for entirely new paradigms of digital interaction and commerce, forming the very foundation of areas we'll explore in the next chapter, such as decentralized finance and non-fungible tokens. Chapter 6. Decentralized Finance, DeFi and NFTs, New Frontiers of Ownership and Exchange. With a solid understanding of blockchain's core components blocks, chains, hashes, consensus, and especially smart contracts, we can now dive into some of the most exciting and disruptive applications emerging from this technology. Two areas in particular have captivated public attention and represent significant new frontiers: decentralized finance, DeFi, and non-fungible tokens, NFTs. They showcase how blockchain can reimagine traditional systems and create entirely new forms of digital ownership and value. Decentralized finance, DeFi, banking without banks. For centuries, access to financial services has been largely controlled by centralized institutions: banks, exchanges, brokers, and insurance companies. They act as trusted intermediaries, facilitating loans, savings, trading, and investments. While effective, this system often comes with high fees, slow transaction times, geographical limitations, and requirements for personal identification that exclude billions of people globally. Decentralized finance, or DeFi, is an umbrella term for a growing ecosystem of financial applications built directly on permissionless blockchains, primarily Ethereum, leveraging smart contracts. Its audacious goal is to recreate traditional financial services, lending, borrowing, trading, saving, insurance, in a decentralized, transparent, and open manner, accessible to anyone with an internet connection and a cryptocurrency wallet. Imagine taking a loan without a bank's approval or exchanging currencies without a foreign exchange counter. This is what DeFi enables. Here's a breakdown of its key characteristics. Permissionless. Anyone can use DeFi services without needing approval or going through a KYC, know your customer process. Transparent. All transactions and smart contract code are visible on the public blockchain, allowing for auditing and trust through verifiable code rather than corporate promises. Composable, money Legos. DeFi applications are often built modularly, like digital money Legos, meaning they can easily be combined and integrated with each other, leading to innovative new products and services. For example, you can deposit funds in a lending protocol, earn interest, and then use that interest to buy another crypto asset, all powered by interconnected smart contracts. Global and 24/7. DeFi operates on global blockchains, removing geographical barriers and operating around the clock, unlike traditional banks with limited business hours. Key DeFi applications: decentralized exchanges, DEXs. Instead of using a centralized exchange like Coinbase or Binance, DEXs allow users to trade cryptocurrencies directly with each other, peer-to-peer, using smart contracts to execute trades. This removes the need for a central custodian, reducing counterparty risk. Lending and borrowing protocols. Users can deposit cryptocurrency to earn interest acting as a lender or borrow cryptocurrency by providing collateral, all facilitated by smart contracts that automatically manage the terms and repayment. Stablecoins. These are cryptocurrencies designed to maintain a stable value, often pegged to traditional assets like the US dollar. They are crucial for DeFi, as they provide a less volatile medium of exchange within the decentralized ecosystem. Yield farming, liquidity mining. Complex strategies where users deposit crypto into DeFi protocols to earn rewards, often in new tokens, effectively farming yield on their assets. Decentralized autonomous organizations, DAOs. While not exclusively DeFi, DAOs often govern DeFi protocols. They are organizations run by smart contracts, where members vote on proposals directly using their crypto holdings, offering a new model of decentralized governance. DeFi represents a bold experiment in disintermediation, promising to make financial services more efficient, inclusive, and accessible. However, it's a nascent and volatile space, fraught with risks including smart contract bugs, regulatory uncertainty, and often high transaction fees and complexity. Non-fungible tokens, NFTs, digital scarcity and ownership. While DeFi focuses on financial applications, NFTs, non-fungible tokens, unlock a new paradigm: verifiable digital ownership of unique assets. To understand NFTs, we first need to understand fungibility. Fungible: an asset is fungible if each unit is interchangeable with another identical unit. Think of a dollar bill. $1 is identical in value and purpose to any other dollar bill. Cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin or Ethereum are also fungible. Your one Bitcoin is interchangeable with anyone else's one Bitcoin. Non-fungible. An asset is non-fungible if it is unique and cannot be straightforwardly interchanged with another. A specific painting by Van Gogh is non-fungible. A specific house is non-fungible. A unique concert ticket is non-fungible. NFTs are digital tokens that represent ownership of a unique asset, whether it's a piece of digital art, a collectible, a piece of music, a virtual land plot in a metaverse game, or even a real-world object. They are recorded on a blockchain, usually Ethereum, using a specific type of smart contract that allows for the creation of unique tokens. How NFTs work. When you mint an NFT, you are essentially creating a unique digital certificate of ownership that points to a specific digital asset. This certificate is stored on the blockchain. The asset itself, the image, the song, the video, is typically stored on decentralized storage solutions, and the NFT provides a permanent, verifiable link to it. The blockchain provides verifiable ownership. Anyone can see who owns a particular NFT and its complete transaction history. This makes ownership transparent and undeniable. Scarcity. NFTs can represent one-of-a-kind items, or they can be part of a limited collection. The blockchain enforces this scarcity. Authenticity. The unique digital signature and provenance on the blockchain guarantee the authenticity of the NFT itself. Tradability. NFTs can be easily bought, sold, and traded on specialized marketplaces, creating entirely new digital economies. Impact and examples. NFTs have exploded into mainstream consciousness primarily through digital art and collectibles. In 2021, a digital collage by artist Beeple sold for over $69 million, bringing the concept of digital art ownership to the forefront. Beyond art, NFTs are being explored for gaming. Owning unique in-game items, characters, or virtual land that players can truly own, trade, and transfer outside of a specific game. Music and entertainment. Providing artists with new ways to monetize their work and connect directly with fans, bypassing traditional labels. Ticketing, immutable, tamper-proof event tickets. Identity and credentials, representing unique digital identities, academic degrees, or professional certifications. While the NFT market has experienced extreme volatility and skepticism due to speculative bubbles, the underlying technology offers a powerful new primitive for establishing digital property rights in a world increasingly moving online. NFTs, like DeFi, demonstrate the profound capacity of blockchain to not just record information, but to enable new forms of value, ownership, and financial interaction by leveraging the power of smart contracts and decentralized networks. These technologies are challenging existing power structures and paving the way for a more open, transparent, and user-centric digital future. Chapter 7: Enterprise Blockchain. Reshaping industries, one ledger at a time. Up until now, our discussion has largely focused on public, permissionless blockchains like Bitcoin and Ethereum, which are the foundations for cryptocurrencies, DeFi, and NFTs. These networks are open to anyone, require no central authority for participation, and prioritize decentralization above all else. However, the unique capabilities of blockchain, its ability to ensure data integrity, transparency, and immutability, have also caught the attention of established businesses and industries. This has given rise to the concept of enterprise blockchain, often implemented through private or permissioned networks. The distinction between public and private blockchains is crucial for understanding their enterprise adoption. Public blockchains, permissionless. Anyone can join, participate in the consensus process, and read-write transactions. Examples: Bitcoin, Ethereum. These prioritize maximum decentralization and censorship resistance. Private permissioned blockchains. Participation is restricted and typically requires pre-approval from a governing entity. Not just anyone can join the network or validate transactions. While still distributed, they are not fully decentralized in the same way public blockchains are. They offer more control over who can see what data, higher transaction speeds, and more predictable costs, which are often critical for businesses. Examples of underlying technologies include Hyperledger Fabric, R3 Corda, and Quorum. Why are large corporations and traditional industries investing so heavily in this technology, often in solutions that seem less decentralized than their public counterparts? The answer lies in the persistent problems they face and the specific needs of large-scale commercial operations. Siloed data and reconciliation. In complex business ecosystems, e.g., supply chains, interbank payments, each participant often maintains their own separate records. This leads to data inconsistencies, time-consuming reconciliation processes, and disputes, resulting in delays and significant costs. Lack of transparency. Following a product's journey or verifying the authenticity of a document across multiple organizations is often opaque. Fraud and counterfeiting. The inability to definitively track goods or verify documents leads to vulnerabilities. Inefficient processes, manual processes, excessive paperwork, and reliance on trusted intermediaries slow down operations and add overhead. Blockchain offers a shared, immutable ledger that can be accessed and updated by multiple parties, creating a single source of truth without any single entity controlling it. This shared reality among participants is precisely what enterprises need to streamline operations, reduce friction, and build trust among partners who may not fully trust each other. Let's explore some key sectors where enterprise blockchain is making significant inroads. 1. Supply chain and logistics. This is perhaps one of the most natural fits for blockchain. Imagine a complex supply chain involving raw material suppliers, manufacturers, distributors, transportation companies, and retailers. Each step generates data. A blockchain can provide an end-to-end, tamper-proof record of a product's journey from origin to consumer. Use case: food traceability. Companies like Walmart have piloted blockchain solutions to track produce from farm to store. If there's a foodborne illness outbreak, they can trace the contaminated batch in seconds, not days, reducing recalls and saving lives. Use case: authenticity. For luxury goods or pharmaceuticals, blockchain can verify authenticity, preventing counterfeits by linking product IDs to immutable ledger entries. 2. Finance and banking, beyond cryptocurrency. While DeFi challenges traditional finance, enterprise blockchain solutions are being adopted by traditional financial institutions to improve existing operations. Use case: interbank settlements. Cross-border payments are notoriously slow and expensive due to multiple intermediaries and different ledger systems. Blockchain can facilitate near-instantaneous settlements between banks, reducing costs and risks. IBM's WorldWire, for example, explores blockchain-based payment networks. Use case: trade finance. The financing of international trade often involves numerous parties and documents. Blockchain can digitize and automate the complex web of letters of credit, bills of lading, and other instruments, significantly speeding up the process and reducing fraud. Use case: asset tokenization. Representing real-world assets, like real estate, art, or commodities, as digital tokens on a blockchain can enable fractional ownership, increase liquidity, and simplify transfers. 3. Healthcare. Use case: secure health records. Blockchain could offer a secure, patient-centric way to manage medical records, allowing patients to control who can access their data while ensuring immutability for doctors and researchers. Use case: drug supply chain, tracking pharmaceuticals to prevent counterfeit drugs and ensure proper handling and temperature control. 4. Identity management. Use case: digital identities. Traditional identity systems are fragmented. Blockchain can enable self-sovereign identity, where individuals own and control their digital credentials, e.g., verified age, professional licenses, choosing what information to share with whom without relying on a central issuing authority. Benefits for enterprise: increased efficiency, reduces manual reconciliation, automates processes via smart contracts, and speeds up transactions. Enhanced transparency, creates a shared, auditable record among participants, increasing accountability. Reduced costs, eliminates intermediaries and overhead associated with dispute resolution and manual data handling. Improved security and trust. The immutability and cryptographic security inherent in blockchain reduce fraud and build trust among disparate parties. New business models. Enables novel forms of collaboration and value exchange across networks of companies. Challenges in enterprise adoption. Despite the promise, enterprise blockchain adoption faces hurdles. These include integration complexity. Integrating blockchain solutions with legacy IT systems can be a massive undertaking. Scalability. While private blockchains are faster than public ones, handling the immense volume of transactions for global enterprises still requires robust solutions. Data privacy. Even on permissioned ledgers, companies often need to ensure competitive data isn't visible to all participants. Solutions like zero-knowledge proofs and private channels are being developed. Regulatory uncertainty. The legal and regulatory landscape for blockchain in various industries is still evolving. Governance. Establishing rules, standards, and dispute resolution mechanisms for a consortium of businesses on a shared ledger is complex. Enterprise blockchain, though less heralded in popular media than cryptocurrencies or NFTs, is quietly transforming how businesses interact with each other. It's an evolution from a single company's database to a shared, secure, and distributed record of truth across an entire industry ecosystem. By addressing fundamental issues of trust, transparency, and efficiency in multi-party processes, enterprise blockchain holds the potential to reshape industries, one immutable ledger entry at a time. However, like any powerful new technology, it is not without its drawbacks, which lead us to the broader challenges and critiques surrounding blockchain as a whole, the subject of our next chapter. Chapter 8. The Challenges and Critiques. What's not so perfect? Throughout this book, we've explored the revolutionary potential of blockchain technology, examining its core mechanics, its ability to foster digital trust, and its groundbreaking applications in finance, digital ownership, and enterprise. It's easy to get swept up in the enthusiasm for what blockchain can do, but to provide a balanced and objective perspective, it's equally crucial to address its significant challenges, limitations, and the valid critiques leveled against it. No technology is a panacea, and blockchain is no exception. One, scalability and performance. This is perhaps one of the most significant and persistent challenges for public blockchains. Simply put, they are often slow. Transactions per second, TPS, on major public blockchains pale in comparison to traditional centralized systems. Bitcoin processes around 7 transactions per second. Ethereum historically processed about 15 to 30 TPS. Visa can handle tens of thousands of TPS. The inherent design of decentralized consensus mechanisms, particularly proof of work, requires time for transactions to be validated and blocks to be added to the chain across a global network. This has led to network congestion, high transaction fees, especially during peak demand, and delays. While solutions like Layer 2 networks, e.g., Lightning Network for Bitcoin, rollups for Ethereum, and different consensus mechanisms, proof of stake, aim to improve scalability, it remains a critical hurdle for widespread adoption, particularly for applications requiring high throughput like microtransactions or streaming data. 2. Energy consumption, proof of work. The environmental impact of proof of work blockchains, most notably Bitcoin, is a serious concern. The immense computational power required for mining translates into enormous electricity consumption, often compared to the energy usage of entire countries. While the argument can be made that a significant portion of this energy comes from renewable sources or otherwise wasted energy, the sheer scale of the energy draw is undeniable and puts a spotlight on the sustainability of certain blockchain models. Proof of stake aims to largely mitigate this issue, but not all blockchains have transitioned, and the legacy ones continue to consume substantial resources. 3. Volatility and speculation, cryptocurrencies, NFTs. Many of the current applications of blockchain, particularly cryptocurrencies and NFTs, are highly speculative assets. Their prices can fluctuate wildly, driven by sentiment, news, and market manipulation rather than underlying fundamentals. This extreme volatility makes them risky investments and complicates their use as stable mediums of exchange. It also creates a perception that blockchain is primarily about getting rich quickly, overshadowing the underlying technological utility. The crypto winter of 2022 to 2023, where asset values plummeted, served as a painful reminder of this inherent market risk. For usability and user experience, UX, engaging with blockchain technologies, especially public ones, can be intimidating for the average user. Setting up a digital wallet, understanding seed phrases, managing private keys, navigating decentralized applications, DApps, and paying gas fees are still complex processes. A single error, like sending funds to the wrong address, can result in irreversible loss. The lack of familiar user interfaces and the steep learning curve are significant barriers to mass adoption. Until the UX becomes as seamless as traditional web services, blockchain will likely remain primarily within the domain of early adopters and tech-savvy individuals. 5. Regulatory uncertainty and legal ambiguity. Governments and regulatory bodies worldwide are struggling to categorize and regulate blockchain assets and applications. Is a cryptocurrency a currency, a security, or a commodity? How should NFTs be taxed? Who is liable if a smart contract malfunctions? What about consumer protection? This lack of clear regulatory frameworks creates uncertainty for businesses looking to innovate with blockchain and can stifle mainstream adoption. The decentralized nature of blockchain also poses challenges for traditional legal jurisdictions. 6. Security risks beyond the blockchain itself. While the underlying cryptographic security of a well-implemented blockchain is robust, the surrounding ecosystem is not immune to threats. Smart contract bugs. As discussed, errors in smart contract code can lead to vulnerabilities that are exploited, resulting in significant financial losses, e.g., the DAO hack. Wallet security. Users are responsible for securing their private keys. If these are lost or stolen, digital assets are permanently inaccessible or gone. Users frequently fall victim to phishing scams, faulty software, or careless handling of their digital keys. Centralized points of failure. Many users interact with blockchain through centralized exchanges or custodians, which become attractive targets for hackers. The vulnerabilities often lie at these points, not in the blockchain protocol itself. 7. Data privacy, public blockchains. While transactions on public blockchains are pseudonymous, they are also transparent and immutable. This means every transaction ever made is permanently recorded and visible to anyone. For certain applications or personal data, this level of permanent transparency can be a privacy concern. Solutions like privacy coins, zero-knowledge proofs, and private permission blockchains are attempts to address this, but it highlights a fundamental tension between transparency and privacy. 8. Governance and upgradability. Decentralized governance, especially for large public blockchains, can be slow and contentious. Reaching consensus among a vast, global community on protocol upgrades or changes is challenging, often leading to forks, where the blockchain splits into two separate versions. This can hinder rapid innovation and adaptation. In conclusion, while blockchain offers compelling solutions to problems of trust and transparency, it's important to approach it with a clear understanding of its limitations. The industry is actively working on addressing these challenges through continuous innovation. But many issues are systemic and require significant technological breakthroughs, better user interfaces, and clearer regulatory guidance. The transition to a truly decentralized, blockchain-powered future will not be a seamless revolution, but a complex, iterative process filled with both triumphs and setbacks. Understanding these hurdles is critical for anyone looking to seriously engage with, invest in, or build upon this transformative technology. Chapter 9. The Future of Trust. Where blockchain is heading. Having navigated the intricacies of blockchain's mechanics, its revolutionary applications, and its significant challenges, we arrive at the pivotal question. Where is this technology heading? Predicting the future is always a speculative endeavor, especially when dealing with rapidly evolving technologies. However, by observing current trends, ongoing research, and emerging use cases, we can identify several key directions and aspirations for blockchain's evolution. 1. Continued focus on scalability and efficiency. The most pressing technical challenge remains scalability. While solutions like proof-of-stake and layer 2 scaling, e.g., sharding rollups, are being implemented and refined, the quest for genuinely high-throughput, low-cost, and energy-efficient blockchain networks will continue. We can expect further innovations in consensus mechanisms, network architecture, and data compression techniques. The goal is to make blockchain infrastructure capable of supporting mainstream applications that demand speeds comparable to traditional internet services, without sacrificing decentralization. 2. Interoperability. Bridging the blockchain silos. Currently, many blockchains operate as isolated walled gardens. A token or data on Ethereum cannot directly interact with a system on Solana or Avalanche without complex bridges or centralized exchanges. This limits the potential for a truly interconnected decentralized ecosystem. Future developments will increasingly focus on interoperability solutions. Technologies like cross-chain bridges, atomic swaps, and standardized communication protocols, often referred to as Layer 0 or multi-chain solutions, aim to enable seamless transfer of assets and data between different blockchains. This will allow specialized blockchains to work together for different functions, much like different websites can interact on the internet. 3. Enhanced privacy solutions. The inherent transparency of public blockchains, while beneficial for auditability, poses challenges for privacy, especially in enterprise use cases or for sensitive personal data. Research and development in privacy-enhancing technologies are accelerating. These include zero-knowledge proofs, ZKPs, cryptographic methods that allow one party to prove they know a piece of information without revealing the information itself. This could enable proving financial solvency without disclosing bank balances, or identity verification without revealing a name. Homomorphic encryption, a form of encryption that allows computations to be performed on encrypted data without decrypting it, potentially enabling complex operations on private datasets on a public ledger. Confidential transactions, techniques that conceal the amounts or participants in a transaction while still allowing the network to verify its validity. These advancements will be critical for businesses and individuals who want to leverage blockchain's benefits without sacrificing confidentiality. 4. Real-world asset tokenization and digitization. The success of NFTs in tokenizing digital art is just the beginning. The future will see a massive surge in the tokenization of real-world assets. This includes real estate, fractional ownership of properties, making real estate more liquid and accessible. Stocks and bonds, digital representations of traditional securities, potentially enabling 24/7 trading, faster settlements, and lower costs. Precious metals, commodities, and collectibles, bringing illiquid assets onto the blockchain to enhance transparency, provable ownership, and ease of transfer. This trend will blur the lines between traditional finance and blockchain, creating a more interconnected and potentially more efficient global financial system. 5. Decentralized identity and data ownership. The concept of self-sovereign identity will likely become a cornerstone of the future digital experience. Instead of relying on centralized entities to manage our digital identities, individuals will control their own verifiable credentials stored on a blockchain. This means we will decide who gets access to our data, when, and for how long. This shift empowers users, reduces the risk of massive data breaches, and could redefine privacy in the digital age. 6. Regulatory clarity and institutional adoption. The current regulatory uncertainty is a significant hurdle. As blockchain technology matures, we can expect governments and international bodies to develop clearer, more harmonized regulatory frameworks. This will provide the necessary legal certainty for institutional investors, large corporations, and traditional financial players to fully embrace the technology, leading to a new wave of adoption driven by established players. This clarity will also help distinguish between legitimate innovation and speculative ventures, bringing stability to the market. 7. Web3 and the decentralized internet. Blockchain is a core component of what is often called Web3, the next iteration of the internet. While Web 1 was read-only and Web 2 was read-write, dominated by large tech platforms, Web 3 aims to be read-write-own. This vision involves decentralized applications, DApps, moving social media, gaming, and other online services from centralized servers to decentralized blockchain networks. User ownership of data. Individuals will own their data, not platforms, and can choose to monetize it if they wish. Creator economy empowerment. Artists and content creators can connect directly with their audiences and truly own their intellectual property, leveraging NFTs and decentralized platforms. Decentralized autonomous organizations, DAOs, increasingly becoming a prevalent model for governing decentralized projects, communities, and even traditional businesses, offering new forms of collective decision-making. The path forward for blockchain is not without its challenges. The technology is still in its infancy, relatively speaking, and faces significant technical, regulatory, and adoption hurdles. However, the fundamental value proposition, that of enabling trust and transparency in a decentralized manner, is incredibly powerful. As society grapples with issues of data privacy, centralized control, and the growing need for verifiable information, blockchain will continue to evolve, pushing the boundaries of what's possible in the digital world. It promises a future where trust is embedded in code, ownership is provable, and digital interactions are more equitable and open. This journey towards a more decentralized and trustworthy future is just beginning, and understanding its landscape will be crucial for navigating the digital world ahead. Chapter 10: Navigating the Decentralized World, a User's Guide. We've journeyed from the foundational concepts of blocks and chains to the revolutionary applications of DeFi and NFTs, and peered into the future of this transformative technology. For many, the world of blockchain, cryptocurrencies, and decentralized applications can still seem daunting and complex. This final chapter aims to empower you, the reader, with practical guidance on how to safely and intelligently engage with this emerging decentralized world. No book can make you an expert overnight, but it can equip you with the mindset and fundamental knowledge to approach blockchain with confidence, whether you're considering investing, building, or simply staying informed. 1. Education is your best investment. The rapid pace of innovation in the blockchain space means continuous learning is essential. Stay informed. Follow reputable news outlets, e.g., CoinDesk, The Block, Blockworks, academic institutions, and established voices in the space. Be wary of sensational headlines or social media hype. Understand the fundamentals. Revisit the core concepts discussed in this book: decentralization, consensus mechanisms, smart contracts, and cryptographic security. These principles are immutable, even as applications evolve. Differentiate hype from substance. Many projects promise revolutionary changes but lack a viable technical foundation or real-world use case. Learn to ask critical questions about a project's technology, team, and problem it aims to solve. 2 practical steps for engagement. If you choose to explore beyond just theoretical understanding, here are some practical steps, starting with the basics. Setting up a digital wallet. This is your primary interface with the decentralized world. Hot wallets, software wallets. These are applications on your phone or computer or browser extensions like MetaMask. They are convenient for frequent use, but are connected to the internet and thus more susceptible to online threats. Cold wallets, hardware wallets, physical devices like Ledger or Trezor that store your private keys offline. These offer the highest level of security for significant holdings, but are less convenient for daily transactions. Crucial rule: always back up your seed phrase, a series of words given to you when you set up your wallet, and store it securely offline. If you lose your seed phrase, you lose access to your funds forever. Never share it with anyone. Acquiring cryptocurrency. Centralized exchanges, CEXs, platforms like Coinbase, Binance, Kraken, or Crypto.com. These are the easiest way to convert traditional currency, fiat, into cryptocurrency. They offer user-friendly interfaces but require identity verification, KYC, and hold your funds in custody, meaning you are trusting them with your assets. Decentralized exchanges, DEXs, platforms like Uniswap or SushiSwap. These allow peer-to-peer trading directly from your self-custodied wallet, but are often more complex for beginners and typically operate only between cryptocurrencies, not fiat. Understanding fees. Transactions on blockchains incur fees, often called gas fees on Ethereum. These fees compensate the network validators and can vary significantly based on network congestion. Factor these into your decisions. 3. Navigating risk in a volatile space. The blockchain and crypto space is inherently risky. Understand these risks clearly. Market volatility. Prices of cryptocurrencies and NFTs can fluctuate dramatically, leading to significant gains or losses in short periods. Only invest what you are prepared to lose. Rug pulls and scams. Be incredibly cautious of projects that promise unrealistic returns or have anonymous teams or lack clear and audited code. Scammers frequently create fake projects, exchanges, or investment opportunities. Always do your own thorough research. DYOR. Smart contract vulnerabilities. While smart contracts are powerful, they can contain bugs that can lead to loss of funds. Only interact with audited and well-established protocols. Custody risk. If you use a centralized exchange, you are entrusting your assets to them. If the exchange is hacked or mismanaged, your funds are at risk. Not your keys, not your coins is a popular mantra, advocating for self-custody over reliance on intermediaries. Regulatory changes. The landscape is still evolving, and new regulations could impact the value or legality of certain assets or activities. For the broader impact and future engagement, beyond investment, consider the broader implications of blockchain, digital ownership. Explore how NFTs are reshaping art, gaming, and digital identity. Decentralized governance. Understand the rise of DAOs and how they are experimenting with new models of collective decision-making. New economic models. Look into how DeFi is creating alternative financial systems. privacy, and data control. Consider how blockchain can empower individuals to reclaim control over their digital footprint. The blockchain revolution is not just about technology. It's about a fundamental shift in how we build and maintain trust in the digital age. It challenges existing power structures and opens up unprecedented opportunities for innovation, collaboration, and individual empowerment. As you step into this decentralized world, be curious, be critical, be cautious, and most importantly, be diligent in your education. The principles and concepts you've learned in this book are your compass. With them, you are well equipped to understand, participate in, and contribute to the ongoing evolution of the digital ledger revolution. The future of trust is being written now, and you are now better prepared to read it, understand it, and perhaps even help shape it.